Welcome back, class. In today's episode, we discuss the premiere of Star Wars Skeleton Crew, the highly anticipated Lord of the Rings film, and Drake's reaction to losing a high-profile rap battle. All this and more in a Star Wars Aims for the Kids and Drake's Sore Loser Moment episode of the Fandalorians. Teachers by day, nerds by night. That is the bell. Class is in session. Welcome to the Fandalorians. Teachers by day, nerds by night. We are the #1 pop culture podcast by public school teachers. Every week, we bring you the latest in entertainment news, reviews, and lively debates, all with a fun teacher twist. As proud members of the Unfiltered Studios podcasting network, we mix lifelong friendship with plenty of banter and good-natured trash talk along the way. You can email us at thefandaloriansmailbag@gmail.com, or you can text us at 631-494-3632. Now, since we get new listeners all the time, allow me to introduce ourselves. My name is Mr. McDonald, the man who has learned a valuable lesson about 13-year-olds.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
Well, I don't know if it's like this with 13-year-old girls, Mr. Richardson, but I asked him what he wanted for Christmas, and he doesn't really want anything. And so what do you get someone who doesn't want anything?
Yeah, you hit that phase. Yeah, it becomes buying them clothes they would actually wear, and that's about it, because my kids hit that point too. They were at an age where they don't ask for extravagant stuff, and most of the things they ask for I can afford. So they never had a time where they've even said they never had a time where there was really, I didn't get what I wanted, because they didn't really go crazy. Game system here, there. It's been so then they plateau out at. Thankfully, they plateaued out. I have everything. I'm good. Some kids don't do that. They keep going, raising up. So you're raising a good son who's plateaued and like, yeah, no, I'm good. Whatever you guys feel like doing.
Well, actually,
what they want.
The one thing that he did ask for, cologne.
Oh man!
So watch out, ladies.
Oh, yeah, you got to teach them how to apply that.
So anyway, co-teaching with me is Mr. Richardson. What's your thing for today?
Nothing.
Is it the man who's losing his voice? Or I'll make something up. Hold on.
The man who, once again, couldn't get it together for this episode. To the last
Okay, hold on. Right? Co-teaching with me is Mr. Richardson, the man who is the entire scheduling problem for this entire podcast.
I got nothing, guys.
You're I can't even fight out that.
I'm in the kitchen. I'm running an extension cord because apparently this outlet won't hold the plug. I got wires all over the place. There's a 4-year-old in there. Doc McStuffins trying to keep her occupied.
You got duct tape. You got aluminum foil. You're barely holding it together.
I'm barely holding it together. But I watched Skeleton Crew, though. So I am good. I'm ready for this.
There you go.
All righty. And my other co-teacher who read or listened to some book this week, I'm sure. Charlie, what have you been listening to?
Well, actually, I was having a struggle. I've gone through like 5 or 6 books where I've listened to the first moments of the books, and then I'm like, no. And then I was like, you know what? Let me just go back to an author that I enjoy her books. And I went back to Kate Quinn, and I've listened to a bunch of her books. Sorry. I've listened to The Rose Code and The Alice Network by her. So I just started listening to The Diamond Eye, and it's based on a true story. She's a Russian sniper that had some ridiculous amount of confirmed kills, some like 200 kills. And the book opens up where I guess she came to the United States after World War II. I don't know if it was after or during to meet with, it had to be during World War II to meet with President Roosevelt. So then there's another plot that goes along with it. So it's like a mix of what's happening right now in 19 whatever, and then like what happened to her moving into the military and going through her war story.
Very interesting. I'm very curious to see how it turns out. I'm sure it's going to be great. So now we're going to get to the first segment. We're going to talk about the morning announcements.
Fandalorian fans, won't you lend me an ear? I hope this podcast sound is crystal clear. Now listen up, people, I got something to say. These are the morning announcements for today.
All right. We're kicking off things with news from across the galaxy. We're getting back to it. We're starting with the show that started us all, Star Wars. We got Skeleton Crew. It premiered on November 29th. First 2 episodes dropped, executive produced by Star Wars heavyweights Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, directed by John Watts, known for directing all the MCU Spider-Man films. All right, set in the Star Wars universe, right after Return of the Jedi, it follows a group of children who discover a spaceship that accidentally warps them into deep space, forcing them to navigate the vast and perilous galaxy, hoping to find their way home. That was my Quantum Leap one. You saw that. I did that. You know, he knows.
Well played.
He knows. All right. Initial response to the first 2 episodes, which recently dropped, as I just said, were generally positive, praising the show's fresh take on Star Wars. The characters, especially the kids, are receiving attention for their performances. And we will be spoiling the first 2 episodes. If you haven't seen it, watch it, come back. Let's break it down. What stood out in the first 2 episodes for you guys? Mr. McDonald.
When we were talking about the Acolyte, I would say fairly, some would say unfairly. One of my critiques was the sisters who played the young version of the twins were just not very good actors, and it kind of just took away from the story. Now, this is the complete opposite. I find that in the first 2 episodes, the 4 main kid actors are spectacular. I thought the way they talk to each other, their relationships, that sounded real. I really, really enjoyed. Maybe it was just better written. Who knows? I mean, but the kid actors are spectacular. So I really, really enjoyed it.
I definitely felt the same way. I thought the acting with the kids was perfect.
When you have kid actors that can act, you can ask them to do more. You can get really in-depth emotions and just do more. You're not limited. I think it's a big sign for the show.
This is the micro scale. This isn't the real thing. But I'm currently casting the play that we're doing. And there's a group of us doing the casting, and we're also directing it. And one of the things, and I know she doesn't listen, so...
Wait, are you like a super old school director where someone comes up, they hit one note, you're like, next?
No. I'm actually more lenient because I'm looking for certain things. But here's my point, and it fits exactly what you just talked about, McDonald. People come up, the kids are saying certain things, and when we're talking about it later, we have a list of kids we're going through and we're trying to figure it out. And one person says, well, the way this character did Tin Man isn't just kind of the way I want Tin Man. I said, but listen, we're the directors. Once they do it, we're going to be there to say, hey, let's do it this way instead. Hey, let's try. I like that way, but let's do it this way. That's the part of people who are directing. And John Watts is incredible at directing kids. We saw what he was doing with Spider-Man when that guy was much, much younger. He's the whole high school scene. He's a good director. And all the kids were like, Bryn, you liked all the kids?
Yeah.
The show.
Oh, Bryn watched it?
Yeah, she watched it.
Because I had Ryan sit down to watch it. He started off saying, I don't like Star Wars. He got 5 minutes in and he goes, nah, I'm done.
Bryn, your quick thoughts. Loud.
I liked Firm a lot, but I didn't like Wim because he was always doing stuff like he cannot let a button go. Like he can't not press a button.
Well, as someone who is surrounded by 13-year-old boys, now that's pretty accurate. I must touch the button.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bryn, I like your jacket.
Thank you.
Her fits on
point.
Exactly. Wait, let's address the elephant in the room. It is Goonies in space. Like, there's even hands down. Fern is Mouth, KB is Data, Wim is Mikey, and Neil is Chunk. And I feel like they made Chunk the elephant guy because growing up, the actor who played Chunk hated it. He hated the fact, Jeff Cohen hated the fact that he was Chunk and he was ridiculed for being overweight and stuff like that. So maybe they internalized that a little bit with the character. So to make the Chunk character, they decided to make him the little elephant from the Rebo Band. But other than that, oh, and of course, Jude Law is going to be my the older brother.
Yeah.
Brandon.
Yes.
Oh, and then the robot he's a mix between One-Eyed Willie and Sloth, maybe. I'm not sure yet.
I found out a very interesting Easter egg. The droid. Do you know what the droid's name is?
It was something that I couldn't catch.
SM-33. And that's because who was Captain Hook's first mate?
Don't tell me.
SMEE.
Oh.
So yeah, it's certainly heavy in Goonies, but there's a lot of Captain Hook. I mean, there's a lot of Peter Pan in this. Yes. There's a lot of Pirates of the Caribbean, any kind of pirate movie. There's a lot of Flight of the Navigator. I mean, it's just pulling nostalgia from the 80s. And I got to say, it works because I'm watching it. I don't know about you guys. You watch it, you're like, oh, I know what they're doing here. I got it. I see what, yeah.
No, the elephant in the room for me wasn't the fact that you have a bunch of teens who get a spaceship and go off into space and get lost and try to find their way home. That's the exact plot of Star Trek Prodigy, the cartoon that came out 3 years ago. The exact same plot as they find a spaceship, they go to warp speed, and they can't find their way back, and they run into and their adult guide was a hologram of Captain Janeway, quote unquote Jedi. The exact same still spaceship, lost in space, find your way back thing 3 years later. Yeah. It was weird about it as well. Hold on, let me add this part before you say something. What's weird about it is I watched the Prodigy animated series Star Trek. The first 3 episodes, it felt more like an animated Star Wars show than a Star Trek show because they were running into aliens with powers and things like that as they were getting lost trying to find their way home. The first 2 episodes of this feels more Star Trek than it does Star Wars, except for the thing at the end. Going to a place where a bunch of shady people hang out and you have to find that's everything in Star Trek. You end up on these bases where things are out of control, with the exception of the whole Jedi move at the end. The first 2 episodes of this. So, it's an homage to each other, I guess.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, I did notice that it was very similar to Star Trek Prodigy, but I don't think Skeleton Crew's going to have a problem because nobody watches Star Trek Prodigy. It's on Paramount Plus, and I don't think it's going to have the same kind of ratings. And so it reminded me of, remember in the 90s when they would have 2 of the same kind of movies coming out the same summer? Like you would have Deep Impact and Armageddon. You had 2 like volcano movies that came out as well. And so they used to do this all the time. And you'd think that whoever came out first would win, but really it's not the case. It's just whoever had the bigger budget. And for better or for worse, it's going to be Star Wars.
I mean, it's not really a contest. They're not coming out together. It's just 4 years old.
Right.
It's pretty much taking the idea, but it is what it is. It's not a contest. I did enjoy it, though. I liked it. I'm curious.
Well, also, they had a bunch of like Easter eggs for Star Wars nerds. Like one of the things is on the quote unquote school bus.
Yes.
When the doors open, you know what that sound was?
Yeah, it
was the sound from Star Tours.
Yeah, and the bus driver was
That's cool.
Yeah.
So
he was a bus driver from Star Tours?
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
you're just like these little teeny tiny Easter eggs that you're like, I know that one. Because I remember I watched it with Lauren and I was laughing at the Star Tours part and she's like, what's so funny? And I told her and she's like, okay. Because she didn't, she's not as much as a nerd as I am.
Yeah.
Shocking.
One of the things that I thought I don't even know it was a thought, but I came to Jaleel White when he popped up on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, this guy's like all over the place all of a sudden. In my universe, my little universe, Jaleel White is popping up. And the one thing he talked about in his book is where he let people make decisions for him that he knew weren't necessarily right, but he just went along with it. And like, what was the first thought when you saw Jaleel White's character? I'm like, they dressed him up like Bullseye from Will Smith's, was Zack Snyder's, what movie was that? Suicide Squad. I'm like, oh, come on, Jaleel. You literally look like that character. It's like, how could you let them do that to you?
Maybe trying to get lost in it and not look like, hey, Urkel's in space.
Oh, I noticed him immediately as I picked. I was like, oh, and the first thought was like, they done him dirty, dressed him like Will Smith's Bullseye.
All right, ready? If I open up the parent portal, which is in some districts a way you could look at the average of your kids, What grade would you give right now? If you could, right? It's just a couple quizzes. They've only taken a couple quizzes. We haven't finished the whole series. I'm gonna sit there. They're sitting in.
So this is a progress report.
Yeah, but you check your kids' average all the time. I know I do. And
currently, what assignments were turned in, what assignments weren't turned in.
Right. I think exactly. I think that's the best way to say it, Charlie.
Wait, and don't you love when your kids try to blame the teacher when you're a teacher, and you're like, no, it's not.
My favorite. Listen. They didn't put all the grades yet. And you know what? I know it's probably true, and I don't work in that zone to know. I'm gonna say characters, the average, and that one was like 95. We're feeling good there. The plot, everything. Listen, we're sitting here 92, 93 average right now. We'll see where it goes.
I'm gonna definitely say all their assignments have been turned in so far.
Yeah, I mean they've checked all of the boxes, because what I'm going to tell you is what this show is doing is what Marvel does best as well. The best Marvel movies are specific type of genre films in the Marvel universe. We always talk about how they do spy movies, they do thrillers, they do heist movies. And so Star Wars finally learned, because the two of the best properties, movies and shows, I think this did a really nice job of doing kind of pirate movies. Rogue One did war movie, but in the Star Wars universe. And so they have to learn from that and give us more kind of specific genres in the Star Wars universe. Because have you ever seen a Suburb in Star Wars?
No, I thought that was interesting to look at. I was like,
or have you ever seen kids playing Jedi, pretending to be Jedi in the Star Wars universe?
And then all the kids are like, what are you losers doing?
It was funny because as we were watching that scene in the neighborhood, like you said, McDonald, to your point, we'd never seen that before. Bryn's like, oh, so this is what happens? I'm like, listen, I've never been here before. It's my first time here too. I don't even know what happens. I guess. And she's like, that's a cool bus to take him to school. I'm like, it is. Because she just didn't know that I have not been here either. So it was our first time in this whole town landscape. Yeah. It was pretty cool though.
I thought it was funny too when they were at school and they were like talking about their jobs and their careers. They're like, I want to be a system analyst. Like just basically the bureaucracy that you see in the Star Wars universe all the time. That I thought it was funny that they're going to school to be like, yeah, my dad's a system analyst. And Wen's dad was just like, I got to work. I got to do this. I gotta do that. And it sounds terrible.
Is he the worst dad ever? He's like, can you read me a story? He goes, that's for babies. And you're like, oh, man. Oh. Yeah.
That book, though, the device that he was reading the book on looked actually kind of cool because it was like a book, but not like a video book, but it was like holograph with depth and like depth to the book. I thought that was like, oh, that's a cool like reader.
And the fact that, before we get out of this segment, the fact that we didn't know exactly why this planet's hidden, they had the field up. No one seems to know how to get back to it because it's a myth. They have old Imperial credits. It's like they were in a bubble and sheltered away from Empire Return and all that nonsense, and now they're coming out of it. Didn't know what stars were, which I didn't realize too. That was pretty cool as well. All right, to survive, the kids in the Skeleton Crew need to support each other. Here's how you loyal listeners can support us.
Well played.
Support the show? Head to TeePublic, link, buy the merch. The merch goes to Lainey's Legacy of Hope, which is a non-profit organization that helps provide support for families with someone suffering from pediatric cancer. Our cut of your money goes to them. If you're on Long Island, stop by Red Shirt Comics in Port Jeff Village. Tell Mr. Darby the Fandalorians sent you. And Mr. McDonald, what will Mr. Darby give you this week?
I believe this week he is going to give out a 90s style booty bump.
Nice. 90s style booty bump.
I don't know if I want that.
You know what? I think I really do. No matter where you are, don't forget to support your local comic shops. Check them out. Support them and supporting us and the Skeleton Crew. But it's time to ride into another reality. We're heading to Middle-earth and dive into the upcoming animated movie, The Lord of the Rings, The War of the
Rohirrim.
There you go. See, he knew. He saw my hesitation because I was going to mess this up. All right, I'm going to skim through this and butcher most of it. Mr. G is going to correct everything I can't pronounce. It's going to be
actually, I don't know, man, because some of these names are new. So,
you know what? I have faith in you.
No, right. I'm just as bad as you sometimes. So,
I don't think that's possible.
I just stay quiet and giggle to myself when you mess up, knowing full well that I would do just as bad.
This is bad, if not worse. Exactly. Rohirrim. How did you say it again?
Rohirrim.
Okay. Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim. The movie drops on the 13th. That is coming up this week. We're recording on
Or
December
it could be
7th.
Rohirrim. I'm sorry. Sometimes it's like the War of Rohan or Rohirrim. I don't know
Again.
how it's like one of those words that, like,
Heard it
there's-
both ways.
when you
I've heard it
add
both
something
ways.
to it, it's
The director is Kenji Kamiyama, I guess, but from Ghost in the Shell fame, which is pretty good. Blade Runner, Black Lotus. Timeline. This is set 183 years before The Lord of the Rings. It focuses on Helm Hammerhand, King of Rohan, defending his people from Wolf.
Yep.
A vengeful Dunlending Lord.
Yeah.
Explores honor, revenge, resilience at Helm's Deep, with Helm's daughter Hera rallying Rohan against overwhelming odds. Mr. J is here, right? This is your thing.
Yeah.
This is Dave, you got to go first. Monday to Friday, where are you on this?
This is
Box
weird.
office. What do you want? I want to hear your thoughts.
I want to see it. I definitely want to see this in the movie theater, but I don't think it's going to be. I'm going to text you guys and say, "Oh, you got to go see this." I just have that feeling about it. I from parts of what I've seen before, like what I've seen in the trailers and stuff, it just looks like the snippets of what they pulled out from Helm's Deep in the movie, and they just animated that, and they're showing us clips like that. So yes, it looks interesting, but I kind of need to have some depth in the story. Like right now, based on the trailers, there's nothing in it for me that's going to show character development or character growth or an overwhelming story that pulls me in other than just fighting. So it's kind of like watching an animated version of 300. I'm like, meh.
But I know for me to jump into this, you know me, I need an on-ramp. I needed to oversimplify what's happening because I don't.
I think you're going to get that based on what I've seen.
Right.
Jimmy, based on what I've seen, everything you've already just read is enough to know what we're going to see. There has been no real, so far there's no connection with Morgoth and things like that. And, obviously the rings aren't even in play yet. As far as the depth of the history, I think it's basically how the Rohirrim, became this country.
The animation style looks fantastic. So I unfortunately think this is going to end up being like Transformers 1, where it's going to be a really good movie, but it's going to kind of struggle to find an audience because the diehard Lord of the Rings people will go see it. But I think that's it. I don't know how this is going to find a larger market, especially as an animated movie, but it's probably going to be fantastic.
Did you guys actually watch Transformers 1?
Not yet.
Oh, I thought it was fantastic.
I know everyone says it was fantastic, but it didn't really have a life in the movie theater.
I think it was in and out of the theater in a blink of an eye.
Right.
Yeah, we've talked about how theaters are now becoming an event. It's like buying tickets to
And I just don't think this is going to be that kind of event, which it's just fine. It may have a long life as, that like this would be a movie that made its money in the 90s on DVD purchases.
So this could be a random thing. So for the past 3 weeks, 2 weeks ago, I went to see Wicked, and it was the first showing we went to was sold out. And this is at my little local movie theater. This is not a big multiplex. This is you usually go to see a movie there, and there's you and 4 other people in the theater when you see the movie. So I was
shocked.
Then the showing that we did go to was full.
My kids were there.
Yeah, the kids were sitting back there. They were full. They literally ran out of the theater. I turned around to say something to them, and they were gone.
Because they were going to go get food, and they had to get back. They had a nice siblings day. So.
Gotcha. Well, that's nice. Then my last weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, my sister came up, and she got her kids, and she's like, "Hey, do you want to go see Moana too?" And I was like, "Sure." The first 2 showings we were looking at were sold out at this little rinky-dink theater, and I was like, "Geez." So I wonder if that's going to be my thing when I'm going to go see this movie. I'm not even going to ask Leo. I just want to go.
Well, Moana is making bank, by the way.
But I've heard it's terrible, too.
I heard it's very mid. It's kind of...
it was supposed to be a TV series, and then they decided, you know what? Let's just turn it in. So I've had people I know who've seen it who told me at work, you could almost see where the episodes break while you're watching the movie because it was like a 5-6 episode, whatever. They clearly condensed it, put it in theaters. But listen, it turned out to be the right choice because we're not the target audience. This everyone says the songs
made
aren't as
$300
memorable.
million worldwide the first week.
Everyone says, yeah, the songs aren't as memorable, the adults who listen to it, but you got little kids. Oh my God, this is it. And that's it. So look, smart move by them to switch it because they're making a ton of money. They would not have made this on Disney Plus.
So I have a feeling that this movie's not going to be a big box office draw. It's going to be one of these things that I want to go see it in the theater, and when I'm like going to go, it's going to be like, it's not even in the theater anymore.
All right, so Charlie's a fan of this. He's going to see it. He's not dissing this film. He's going to let us know if he likes it. Let's switch to another diss, the Drake versus Kendrick feud, which is taking a turn that just I have to talk about. It's pop culture. It's relevant. It's like the biggest thing right now. And I'm going to oversimplify it for those of you who are listening. Here's how the rivalry started. J. Cole did a song with himself and Drake, and they mentioned the big three of hip hop being J. Cole, Drake, and Kendrick. Kendrick took offense saying, nah, there's no big three. There's only a big me, which I thought was a nice line back. And then all was off, and then Drake was offended by that. And now they went back and forth and back and forth. The way this escalated to a point that no one's ever seen in the history of hip hop, Drake had a song where he attacked Kendrick, basically accusing him of beating his wife. Kendrick came back with a song called Not Like Us, where he basically branded Drake instead of a certified lover boy, certified pedophile, and made ridiculous amount of jokes at his expense. You're trying to drop a chord, it's probably A minor, and start singing it out like this song, which I've never seen before in hip hop, became the song of the summer. It spent 9 weeks on the top of the Billboard charts. There were videos online, people singing it in clubs, singing certified pedophile about Drake everywhere. It was all over the place. And then after it left top of Billboard, Kendrick made a video of it and brought it back up to Billboard for 2 more weeks. Then Kendrick's been picked to do the Super Bowl. Anyone listening to any hip hop, whatever, knows he lost this one. Drake got smoked. His team of writers couldn't come back. Here's where it gets just crazy weird. Drake now is filing a lawsuit with Universal Music Group. This is the group that does Kendrick's music and his music, accusing them of using bots to make this song popular. Since they know he's making up stories in it, they're pushing the agenda, defamation of his character. I've never, as someone who listened to hip hop battles for most of his life, never heard of a rapper losing a battle and then quickly calling in a team of lawyers to try to sue the people who beat him in the battle. So,
Jimmy, you know what this is? This is when you lose a fight and you call in your parents.
Yes, but I mean, I put is it a tactical treat or is it a certified punk move? But McDonald is like this. He threw the first punch. He called Kendrick out, and Kendrick didn't respond right away. Then he accused Kendrick of beating his wife. He didn't, and then Kendrick responded and annihilated him. It's like starting a fight, literally throwing the first 2 punches, getting beat up, and then going to the teacher. Hey, that guy beat me up. It's ridiculous. McDonald, you're from the streets like me. It's a punk move, right?
Well, I am from a street. Yes, I wouldn't say the streets. But yeah, he shot him with a bow and arrow, and Kendrick came back with a bazooka. He just annihilated him. And this is the punkest move of all time. This is the weakest thing he could ever do. Like, I don't know how he recovers from this. Like, what do you do? I'm calling my lawyers.
Yeah. It's funny, Jimmy, as you were going and talking about this, I haven't even heard this song. I don't even know, Not Like Us. I couldn't even tell you one single.
It's not going to come across right there.
It's a great song, Not Like Us.
No clue what song it is. And it's funny, I haven't
probably heard it on TikTok.
I'm going to listen to it to be like, if I even had come across it somewhere like that. But it is definitely like, imagine if this was like the 90s and this was like Tupac and Biggie. Like, I'm calling my lawyer. Like,
it's a lawyer and tries to sue. It's
ready. I'm going to defend it then a little bit. At least both Biggie and Tupac would be alive if they just used their lawyers.
Well, I guess
probably true. Can you? I can't wrap my head around thinking like you're destroying any possible.
You're destroying your career. Like, how do you recover from this?
And here's the thing. I think the bigger thing, McDonald, is 2 things. One is the fact that he is because I think rumor is it he's working hard to try to get the song pulled, which would be insane because he's terrified of.
Do you know how popular that would make that song?
It's back on number 1 again because he brought this back up and people are listening to it. No, but listen, here's the worst thing. The fact is, Mr. G, you have to listen to it later. the fact with the lyrics on to follow along.
I'm doing it right now.
He is terrified that he will be in the Super Bowl singing that song, and the entire world will be singing the hook to the song, certified, which they do. They drop the music that people sing in. It's pretty crazy. He's trying to shut that down, but I'm sorry. He's going to get destroyed. And then Kendrick's going on a world tour, and he's playing Toronto, his stadium in Canada, too. He says the ultimate troll. I'm coming to your hometown and singing your song. It's wild. I'm loving it.
Well, I mean, look, I got to tell you, it is the greatest way to just absolutely annihilate someone. I mean, he didn't ask for this. Drake came to him, and he's like, you sure you want this smoke? And he's like, I don't have to give it to you.
Play
but
stupid games, win stupid prizes, man.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it is.
Oh, it's hysterical is what it is. I don't know how Drake can come back from this one. I don't know how his team of songwriters he's going to be like, it's not true. Seriously. That's every song.
He did a song to say that.
Yeah, I know. But what I don't know.
It's one of those things where you're going to have to admit that you made stuff up, or admit that you did it. So it's like a lose-lose situation.
And it's one of those things like with Hollywood rumors. If you address it, it makes it worse. And if you don't address it, it makes it worse-er. And you're just like,
Like when you have entire clubs singing this song, which is a Drake diss track, constantly in these places, it's pretty crazy. Mr. G, did you listen just now?
Yeah, I did. I think I've heard it in probably
grocery
TikTok.
Store?
No, yeah, definitely the grocery store.
Grocery store. Where do you shop, Mr. Richardson?
Yeah. I think I've heard it on TikTok before, probably just as like a background, but some people will post stuff.
It's crazy.
And it's one of those things that you don't realize you remember when you're young and you hear songs and you're singing along and you don't realize what the lyrics actually mean.
Well, because if the radio edit probably doesn't even sound anything like the actual song itself.
Right. The radio edit is this.
But now, now with your phone, you can hit the button and they'll have the lyrics scrolling as you watch it. I'm like, oh, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right, we got to wrap this one up. All right, so listen, the rap battles are out.
Hold on, Richardson. I got to tell you, I knew nothing about this lawyer part, and I just can't wrap my head around it.
For that,
now I'm mad at myself for having it slip through my net. How did I not hear about this earlier? Oh, I'm gonna have to go super internet deep dive.
You have to change grocery stores, Pat.
Yeah, that's right.
Again, seeing a beef track become the biggest song is crazy. Poor Drake. He's got his worries, though.
It just shows that he didn't have the street cred all along. That he was just from, what did he start off on, Degrassi or whatever show it was?
And he has a team of writers, and they write his, he doesn't write any of his songs, and this is what happens. We're going to get out of here. We're going to listen. I got Mr. G listening to Drake. I got McDonald pulling up the Drake tracks. I'm going to send you guys the order of all the songs back and forth, so that way you're fully invested for the next time we talk about this.
Well, it's like reading poetry about your enemies. It's great.
For Mr. McDonald and Mr. G, I'm Mr. Richardson. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.